Welcome back folks, Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl release is just around the corner on November 20th, which marks the end of a long wait for this title. You see, most of the people who played the original trilogy have been sitting in the dark for years of news of anything Stalker 2 development related, and they were grim to say the least, and a lot of people lost hope that we will ever see this. Then one day, website comes up for Stalker 2. To be honest, even then I was skeptical, being that this project would be a behemoth compared to everything else GSC Game World has released so far in terms of development hours and just the complexity of the game. But development continued on even after the invasion happened, which tells me how much passion is being put into this title and what it represents and means for them. And now, after numerous delays, it will finally be in our hands, as even preload started on Xbox as reported by people on various social media. Moving on to the latest news, a few days ago GSC officially revealed that the game has gone gold, meaning that it's finished and ready to be shipped. Look, right now I'm just hoping that the release will be smooth and it will be an interesting experience, being that, well, this is the first Stalker game outside of previous in-house X-ray engine, which, let's say, had its charms. We also got a new gameplay trailer, Smoking Barrels, which focuses on weapon attachments that we can change on the go as we loot them from either enemies or as we explore the zone. Animations look really nice, and they managed to really emulate the similar experience to X-ray engine, or at least I get that feeling from movement and the way gunfights look. Speaking of upgrades, it will retain similar but expanded system like in previous games, but it's important to keep in mind that it might not go to anomaly levels, being that, well, right now I saw there is a huge discussion about comparisons between the two. And I think that a lot of new players were introduced into this IP through anomaly or anomaly mod packs like Gamma. And, you know, so it might skew what the original games were, especially when it comes to what people expect, because Anomaly was always more gameplay oriented while the original is more story action oriented. Also, Anomaly tends to have a lot more grind that you have to do for both parts, ammo and equipment in general, while Stalker 2 they will provide more weapons at start, or well, a bigger variety, but I still think sawed-off shotgun will be our friend at the start of the game until we get something like this. I mean, you can't see it, but I have a big smile on my face right now. Of course, Stalker 2 seems to be bridging those two gaps by introducing more systems into the game, but don't be fooled, Stalker always had a strong survival and immersion element. Atmosphere you find yourself in always was its biggest selling point, with danger lurking around each corner. In Stalker 2 trailers we can see the return of hunger and thirst, as well as different healing items going from bandages to full-on medkits, and weapons themselves can jam. You can change which type of ammo you have in the magazine, going from the basic one to armor piercing and so on, to putting on a shotgun attachment to your sniper rifle to make it more useful in case you're attacked at close range. Personally, I love what I'm seeing from the trailers and gameplay at least. It's more like the original while expanding those gameplay elements to make, well, first of all, the map bigger, returning us to locations we have been, visiting from like the original trilogy. But this time we're gonna be coming back to those locations after some time has passed. New graphics, sound design, immersion here could be actually top tier. In Stalker 2 you will also navigate both people, animals, mutants and anomalies, with their, being a new live system, which basically means world moves on. The AI is going to continue even without you in some segments, where animals are going to rotate and migrate around the zone. This also means that every time you visit that zone, situation might be different, and where you thought was safe might not be safe anymore. There was also a scene shown a while back with us fighting against a snork, probably in the tunnels, which brings back PTSD from the first time I was there. It was awful because you get ambushed from like 7 different sides. Difficulty options are back as before, and that's good for both, rookie stalkers who want an easier time to be introduced into the zone, which is good, while hopefully higher difficulties will be great for veterans, but of course we shall see how that is once the game comes out. This time we are playing as a new protagonist called Skiff, and we get some glimpses of him in the trailer, but It will be interesting to really learn the full story around him. Also, don't worry, old characters like Scar, Strider will be back, so from the lore perspective, it's going to be wild. Factions we know about already are returning as well, like Duty, Freedom, Loners, Ecologists, Monolith, and the usual bunch. With new ones like Ward and Noon, there is a lot of history here for new players, but don't worry, I will make more lore videos in the future where I'm going to explain it all. Keep in mind that factions and their relationships play a huge role in the game. We will most likely start as a loner, which are neutral stalkers who don't really have an allegiance to anyone, so some factions don't have a problem with them while some, will do, so always keep a lookout where you are headed and who is present in that part of the zone. Some factions like Monolith shoot at pretty much anything that moves, so you will always get into skirmishes with them. And if they keep jobs like before, always check around with NPCs. Maybe someone will have something for you to do, a smaller task which can give you money or useful items. Faction dynamics will also be interesting to see as things seems to be changing, where even some of them I think even switch their bases, and then you also have to take into account new players as well as movement of bigger and more dangerous factions like for example the military. New and old artifacts will be back into the game as well, as we will be hunting them for missions ourselves because well they can be useful for us as well and ultimately profit. To get them you will have to navigate anomalies with common sense, a pair of eyes and a bolt to check if the path you want to take is going to be safe. In the other news, detailed and final system requirements have been released, and well, the cost of those amazing graphics will most certainly be high, so let's go through it. For the lowest settings, that being in 1080p and 30 frames, you will need i7 7700K or Ryzen 5 1600X, and for GPU you will need Nvidia 1060 or the RX 580 with 16GB dual channel memory. On top of that, you better clean out your storage because Stalker 2 will be 160GB heavy. For medium you will need i7 9700K or Ryzen 7 3700X, alongside either 2070 Super or 4060, and for AMD you will need RX 5700 XT. And now for the recommended settings, that being in 1440p in 60 frames, although if you're gonna be playing this in 1080 I think you should be able to get some more frames. So your PC will need to be on the higher end, or well the medium high end, because well you will need 3070 Ti or 4070 to run this, and for the AMD you will need the RX 6800 XT. And I also fall into this category, so I will be sharing my experience with frame rate and stability once the game is out. And for the epic settings, that being in 4K and 60 plus frames, you will need, of course, 4080 from Nvidia or the RX 7900 XTX. It will be available on PC through GOG, Steam, Epic and Game Pass. When it comes to consoles right now, it's going to be Xbox Series X and S only, with PlayStation 5 version coming in the future. I mean, it's only logical to do it after exclusivity deals are finished. Now for the end, my only hope is that the release will go smoothly, as I really think these delays were good, being that well I think polishing a game of this size requires a huge effort, and well we shall find out on release how well it went. But I can't wait to finally get into the zone after all of these years, and what mods come out for this in the future, because well, modding community is still very much active, so I'm sure some plans are already being made for the future. And this is everything for today. Expect to see a lot of coverage of Stalker 2, as I will be going from lore to guides and gameplay videos to help you navigate the actual game. So if you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing for more, and join our growing community on Twitter and Discord. Huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters, and as always, stay classy. I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye.